Hello, my name is Nephilim. If you are new here, welcome. If you saw my last video, also welcome. And thank you so much for how many views and likes and comments if you were one of the people who commented. And also thank you so much for all of these subscribers. I didn't really expect any of that to happen, but it was kind of a wild ride to see it just like explode a bit. Anyway, today I thought I would start a challenge for myself that I wanted to call the Villain of the Week art challenge thing. And basically this was something that I was thinking about for a while because I really wanted to get into kind of a consistent schedule for drawing things, because right now it is quite inconsistent. Like, I don't draw a lot. I don't draw as much as I want to, or I feel like I should. So I thought that if I had a consistent thing that I had to work to every week, that I would eventually just draw more in general. And for me, at least, one of the hardest parts about drawing is actually figuring out what I want to draw. So I thought that if I gave myself kind of a theme or a unifying factor for all of these drawings, that I would be able to sort of organize them and make sure that I did them every week. And also, it would just be like a cool collection to have. And also, I just really like villains, so I thought I would talk about them while I am drawing them. So the first villain that I wanted to draw is actually one that I have drawn quite a bit already, who is Dabi from Boku no Hero Academia. Also, heads up, this does get into a little bit of spoiler territory, so if you don't know Dabi's real identity, and if you live under a rock, yeah, this is your warning, just saying. Though I don't say it explicitly, just so you know. Which is an anime that I started watching when I was like 16, and it's still going on, and I finished the manga. Well, I didn't finish the manga. I've caught up to the manga up until like 2 weeks, I think. So I am pretty ahead of the anime as it is. But yeah, I have drawn him like once every year for the past, this will be the 3rd year that I've done it. I don't know, he's just like a marker of where I am as an artist. Like, I'll draw him, compare him to the previous year, yada yada yada. We do that all the damn time. But he is also one of my favorite characters from Boku no Hero in general, because I think his design and his styling and his attitude is just very cool. I am really into those feral bitches, I'm sorry. I also just find his story a lot more interesting than Shigaraki's. I think part of the reason why I find him so interesting is because there's always been a little bit more mystery behind who he is and why he looks like that, even though we can kind of understand it. And he's also just a more personal villain than Shigaraki in terms of like Todoroki and Endeavor. I find their family dynamics a lot more interesting than Tomura's and or Shigaraki's and that one, I don't remember her name actually, but the user of Float and the previous One for All user. What's her name? But basically, yeah, I just think he's a much more interesting villain. Just personally, you know, like his story it feels like it has a lot more personal weight to Todoroki's story than Shigaraki's story does to Midoriya. Also, I don't really like Midoriya, I'm sorry, but boy needs to chill. Okay, just take a chill pill. I will not say the same for Bakugo though, because he's actually hilarious whenever he's mad. I guess I'm a little biased, but whatever. I think another reason I really like this villain is because when he was first introduced in the anime is kind of when I started watching it. I started watching the anime after the 2nd season had aired and before right before the 3rd season, so I'd watched all of that. I had watched the 1st and the 2nd season, like I'd binged the 1st and 2nd season, and then I only had to wait like a couple more weeks for the 3rd season, and that's when he gets introduced into the anime with the summer arc, or the summer camp arc, and Bakugo getting kidnapped, which wasn't very cool of him, but whatever. And at the time I was around the same age as the high school student characters, so I guess I related to them more, and I found Dabi to be like really interesting and a threatening villain. Because he is also, like, besides Shigaraki, he is kind of one of the more forward-facing members and the ones that we interact with the most in terms of the League of Villains. Like, we see him a lot after the 3rd arc, and then we Oh my god, someone is vacuuming upstairs! What the fuck? I just like him. I think he's neat. He looks cool. He acts like a feral little trash bastard. Love him. He's got spiky black hair, which is cool. I like Bakugo was my favorite character when I was a teenager, and now Dabi is my favorite character now that I'm not a teenager anymore, so it just kind of evolved from one spiky-haired bastard to the other. Whoopsies. Even though there are a lot of spiky-haired characters in Boku no Hero. That's just kind of like the style. I just think he's so cool. I don't know. Also, his the like double spy agent stuff with Hawks was also very cool. We love to see it. Hot Wings, we love them. Like, okay, the whole and then like I was also so a part of the fandom back in like 2016 or whatever the third season aired. I'm not exactly sure. Around that era, I was so active in the fandom, and if you were also there, then you'll know that when Dabi kind of erupted onto the screen and into the manga, there were so many conspiracies of who he was, mainly being a Todoroki, which actually turned out to be true, and it was totally valid like why everyone was so just enamored by him, I guess. Like, him being a Todoroki was something that I feel like everyone just kind of knew already. Not from the get-go, but like after a couple months of people being like, hey, what the hell is this guy? Everyone was just kind of like, oh yeah, he's like 80% probably a Todoroki. And then it turned out to be true. Which, I don't know, some part of me is like, did he become a Todoroki because we all suspected he was a Todoroki? Or was he a Todoroki from the get-go? Because, you know, sometimes, like, I want to believe that the mangaka had planned it out from then, but like sometimes it doesn't happen like that, and maybe the fact that the fandom kind of latched onto him being a Todoroki contributed to the fact that he is a Todoroki. The whole point I'm getting is that from the start, Dabi always had this mystique about him because everyone wanted to know if he was a freaking Todoroki, and it turns out he was a freaking Todoroki. I think we got it, okay? Like, it's good shit. And like, I don't know, everyone is always like, in any other, like in a traditional shonen manga, Todoroki would have been the main character because he's the one with the tragic backstory, and he's the one with the really, really overpowered quirk, and he's the one who is like the special one, and he is the son of the number 2 hero, number 1 hero, whatever. And yeah, a part of me does see that because Midoriya is definitely not the strongest main character, even though that's kind of like the point, is that he's not a strong character. I don't mean like physically strong, I just mean like him as a character is not as powerful as Todoroki or Bakugo or some of the other background characters, but he definitely becomes that. Like in the manga, he is definitely coming into his own and all of that stuff, and he definitely gets his little face off with Shigaraki. But I feel like, I don't know, like the impact between Midoriya facing off Shigaraki and then Todoroki facing off Dabi, it's not the same. Like, Todoroki and Dabi, they're brothers, right? There's so much history and so much shared trauma that both of them face that, like, it's so specific to them that it feels like it could only be those two. But with Shigaraki, like, I understand that they are also connected through One for All and All for One and all of that stuff, but those are not, they're not exactly family. I keep saying family. Like, it doesn't have the same super emotional impact for me as like a brother facing a brother. And maybe that's because I have a lot of family issues that I don't know. Yeah. There's also something about how Dabi is kind of the embodiment of what is wrong with the hero society in Boku no Hero. Like, even much more than Shigaraki, even though Shigaraki like has this other side to it, but Dabi's side is so personal and it feels more realistic in the sense that like child abuse and like parents putting so much pressure on their kid and then turning against them. Not even turning against them. In the child's mind, it feels like they're being turned against, even though technically Endeavor was trying to keep him safe, I guess, from himself. But also, I'm not really a fan. I'm not an Endeavor apologist. Let's just say that. I kind of wanted to see him burn a little bit more, but whatever. I just think that his presence in the story and like what it brings to the story has so many things that you can extract from it, which is why I think he is such a great villain. I liked him and he showed up and he was much more of a prominent figure in Boku no Hero when I was really active in the fandom. And that kind of has just stuck with me until now. Also, him and Hawks. Look, there's just so much to talk about with this stupid thing. Like, I don't even mean like him and Hawks and like, ooh, ship you away. I mean like they're opposites of the same coin, basically, and like the way that Hawks was raised and the way that the commission kind of, I don't want to get like too into fanon territory and like ignore the canon, even though I am like, fuck the canon. I am no Miguel O'Hara, brother. Like, chill. Okay? Fuck the canon. The fanon's fine. Fanon sometimes is more interesting than canon because the fanon actually takes these ideas that are hinted at and like sprinkled throughout the series, and because there's no real narrative structure and because you can just focus on two background characters or side characters and you can explore them and you can flesh them out fully and you can really dig your claws into whatever it is that these characters are saying, and that's why I love it so much, and that's why I enjoy reading a lot of it, reading a lot of fan fiction and fan works and fanon stuff, because it takes every single character and it rotates them, and you got to look at them from every single angle that you can, and you get 1,000 different ideas over the same archetype, and I think that is so fascinating and fun and interesting. And yes, that is why I like Dabi. That is why I like a lot of villains as well, is because a lot of the times they are just these twisted images of what could happen, and villains are not born, they are made, and it is just some sick shit. Anyway, thanks for watching. Next week, I don't know which villain I'm doing yet. It might be Oryx from Destiny. Don't know. If you have a villain you want me to draw, leave it in the comments. Please subscribe. I love you all. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.